Howdy, howdy. It's Trisha Lee. Welcome to the Disruptive Technology Hangout. With me, as always, is my partner, Laurier Lever. And today we're going to talk about something that we don't really know that much about, but it should be interesting. Larry is currently the VP of Development for King Sunshine Solar Systems, and he's also the CEO of TK Environmental. We've been working together for close to 10 years now. He is an environmentalist who has created a patented process for recycling plastic, and he sold Suncast his interest in Suncast polyurethanes before he started working with me. So he's been committed to environmentalism for a while. And then I see also our friend Dan Thomas has also joined us. He's part of our mastermind for King Sunshine. And so today we're going to talk about the surveillance state because Larry suggested the topic. It's something that's kind of new and definitely becoming more prevalent. Initially, surveillance cameras, I think when they first came out, were basically something that banks utilized, and most other people just couldn't afford the technology. And as cameras have become in the pockets of every person, everywhere, all the time, and with the cell phones that they've developed, we've also seen, in conjunction with that, surveillance cameras popping up all over the place. Initially, they were just pointed at the cash registers at convenience stores and inside of, like I mentioned, banks and stuff. But now they seem to be putting them up on street corners all around the globe. Every business owner wants to have his property under surveillance because of crime and just people wanting to have awareness about what goes on their property. And so for the average person, it's not really, I don't really see it as an inconvenience. I see it as a good thing for people to be able to protect themselves. However, some people out there argue about privacy rights and about the fact that there's certain cities where you can barely even go anywhere in the entire city without being under the watchful eye of some surveillance camera somewhere in that place. So Larry's seen an interesting surveillance video on YouTube, and he thought that this would be a good topic for us to talk to. So do you have some opening comments or whatever about all the security cameras going up and the surveillance footage that's being taken all around the globe?
Yeah, there's I've known security cameras have been in operation in many places, and they're getting smaller and smaller, and the technology gets better and better. Uh, the thing is, there's so many security cameras out there now that sometimes they're catching unexplained phenomena that really people have had, I guess, ideas about, but weren't sure what they were actually talking about. Uh, Basically, the security cameras have picked up strange things where um, things will appear and then disappear, and it can happen very fast with a flash of light and things like that. So it's kind of a new disruptive technology in the way that because these security cameras are going all the time now, it's very hard to um, go undetected. So if there's something that we question didn't exist before, um, we're starting to see actual proof that some of these things actually exist. And I think it's also safe to say a lot of stuff, a little Hollywood can probably get involved with some stuff, But some of the some of the things I've been seeing on YouTube from security cameras are just posted up there and hard to explain what they are. You kind of have to use your imagination, and because they're some of them are low quality security cameras, some of them are high quality cameras, but it's really difficult to explain what is happening on these cameras. People are appearing out of thin air in some of these videos, and some people are disappearing in some videos. There's um, a lot of videos where an object will just appear with a almost with a flash of light, and I think most of the people posting the videos, like a lot of them have been posted several times on um, different YouTube channels, and they are the same video. But some people have actually been able to zoom in on certain parts um, of the videos, especially with surveillance. So I know there's some surveillance videos that cameras and stuff where the technology exists where you can really zoom in on what's happening. So I don't know how I stumbled over it. I can't remember what I was looking for security cameras, but there's talk about teleportation in a lot of these videos. Some are doctored and some just to occur. It's like, what's really happening here? So it's kind of disruptive in the way that security cameras are revealing things just in everyday life that we can't really explain what's happening. So, and I think I've experienced some things in the past. I think everybody has. Sometimes when you put down, you'll put down an object like scissors or a set of keys or something, and you'll turn away to do something, and then when you turn back and look for those keys, all of a sudden they're missing, and you can't explain where they went because they were just there. And I've noticed myself, if I carry on to do something else different and come back a few moments later, there's the scissors or the keys sitting right where I left them, where they weren't before. And I think that's one of the things that these security cameras are starting to show. They're just catching things as they happen.
Yeah, definitely. I think that something that can be said about the security cameras is that I think that it's made uh, the job of law enforcement a lot easier than it used to be because they don't have to rely on people's memories for identifying suspects and stuff like that. They can just go right to a surveillance camera, and usually they can get um, a better idea of who the people they're after are. And definitely, there's so much surveillance going on all around the world, especially in cities where basically we're all kind of like being watched all the time, but you wonder if anybody's actually watching the surveillance. I think a lot of those cameras are not necessarily manned, but they have the tape so that when an incident occurs, then they go to the security footage. But I think a lot of it is just not even useful or used because they're just.
Yeah,
But when there's an incident or a crime or something like that, it's very easy for people to go and see what actually happened. It's like there's a witness to almost everything that we do on this planet now with the advent of all of this surveillance. Um, yeah, and like I said, I think it's a good thing. But some people feel that their privacy is threatened, and I think it does become an issue where They passed some laws and stuff, um, anti-terrorist laws, I believe, where they're able to put people under surveillance without a warrant or just cause, which kind of gets into sketchy territory. And even before, when law enforcement had to have warrants and stuff, there was always stories of people that would use the technology to their own advantage, like the government agent who would put his like wife under surveillance or something to try and catch her cheating on him or something like that, or just using the technology in a nefarious way and not how it's meant to be used. So whenever you have a big amalgamation of surveillance like this, you do kind of open yourself up to abuses. And so I wonder how often surveillance footage and stuff is used for nefarious things like blackmail and things like that. I imagine that does happen more frequently than it did in the past because of this just intense amount of monitoring that exists on this world right now.
Yeah,
So
it's sorry.
in the post that I put up to promote the Hangout, I put um, a question. I posed a question of if you feel more secure because of the surveillance cameras, which I'm inclined to feel more secure, or if you feel that your privacy is threatened. So I don't know where you come in on that balance, Larry.
I don't think there's really a choice. I think that it's something that's been going on for a long time, you know, and uh, the Americans have their I can't remember what it's called, but we have a Freedom of Information uh, Act, FOIP as it's also known as. But when it comes to if you're in front of a security camera in a place where they have security cameras, how are you going to know it's there? You know, it's I think you hit the nail on the head though for stuff like theft. It can really help with the police find things that are happening or things that are going missing. Uh, Security cameras work a really good job there. But if you're in front of a security camera in a place where you don't know the security camera is there, tough. You don't know it's there. You don't know it's there. There's not much you can do about it. I don't think anybody can say, well, you have to have signs saying that this place is being monitored by security cameras. That's bananas. And you might be right. We might even while we're talking on this hangout, someone else could be tapped into it, looking at it from for an ulterior motive. But this is a Google Hangout, so it's not exactly the same as a security camera. But yeah, that's really a tough call. If it is it an invasion of privacy? I don't think it is. Uh, um, it's it also kind of coincides with people using telephones and recording telephone conversations. You know, in a lot of places, I think in Canada and the United States, that's considered illegal. However, if somebody wants to record the conversation when you call them, they'll announce that they say that this call could be recorded, so as a warning to you. Now, when it comes to security cameras, I don't think you can really do that because they're just on all the time, and you never know where they are. They have cameras now that, well, you know about the drones and quadcopters and UAVs, vehicles that have a camera on board and they can fly. They can fly anywhere they want and watch whatever they want, and a lot of times just go undetected because they don't make a lot of noise. So that's kind of a different thing because it's not a stationary camera that's actually monitoring something. It's something that's flying around and moving around and is is detectable. You can actually see it. where there's also some security cameras that are so small, they're like the size of a ballpoint pen, and those can be put anywhere. Like the technology is amazing for what is possible for cameras, the size of cameras that are available to people are just incredible. And anybody can buy them, anybody can put them anywhere, and anybody can hook up whatever recording or monitoring device they want. All you need is a computer and a camera, and away you go.
Yeah, it's amazing how fast it's changed, really, because, yeah, like I said, I can remember being a little kid. Um, there was no security cameras. I don't even think the bank had security cameras when I was a kid. But I think that probably maybe by the time I opened my first bank account, that by that time there was security cameras in the bank, and then probably when I was maybe in my 20s or whatever, I started seeing like gas stations and um, regular stores, malls, and stuff having the surveillance cameras, and now you see them on street corners. So it's kind of it's a little weird. It's like, what are they watching out here on the street? I know in Edmonton, um, there's an area called White Ave, and yeah, they have them on the street, and it's like they're not really watching anything. They're watching the people, obviously, because there's some of these cameras. There's nothing else around. It's just where people walk by that they're monitoring the people. See, when they're, I suppose, it's kind of an area where there's thriving nightclub scenes, so they're watching for crimes being committed potentially. But it does seem kind of strange, and I don't know. For in my personal opinion, it kind of gives me a feeling of security, that knowing that if something happened, that um, maybe there wouldn't be somebody there to see it, but there would be proof that it happened by way of the cameras. So, and yeah, definitely when you look at a lot of they have a lot of TV shows. I don't really watch them, but where they're about investigations and stuff, and detectives and that, and they, I imagine nowadays, rely extremely heavily on their surveillance info that they get.
Yeah, and you're right. Like the surveillance cameras are another example of how effective security cameras can be for for detecting a whole bunch of different stuff. Um, I think the good thing about security and surveillance cameras is that they can detect things that are one thing comes to mind is a lot of places, a lot of people are using security cameras in their vehicles. So when they're driving, if they get in an accident, they can take that into court and prove who was in the right or who was in the
Can you,
wrong.
can you just run with that for a second? I just got to run to the washroom.
Sure. I have seen a lot of videos where stuff gets caught on not so much security cameras, but they're called dashboard cameras, where they sit on the dash of your vehicle, and as you're driving, it's recording. I imagine it's on a loop system, so it's probably recording for maybe an hour, and then it re-records. But it's they're using them in vehicles mainly as a an insurance um, feature, so that if you do get into a car accident, you have proof. This is exactly what happened for the car accident. Which brings me to another. This was a strange video that I saw of another surveillance camera that was just on a street, and I think it's an older security camera that was used. Like it might have been recorded a long time ago, but it was just something that I found on YouTube of these vehicles at an intersection. Well, they weren't even at an intersection, but they were driving. All of a sudden, there was this thing that seemed like a magnetic force in the middle of these vehicles, and it kind of pushed each vehicle um, in a different way away from this center of, I don't know what it was, some kind of energy force, or hard to say. It was caught on camera though, but there was no real explanation as to what it was. So as I was saying, if you're searching for these types of videos, all you have to do is search. People call them different things. They call them ghosts, teleportations, angels, things like that. And so they come up under many different unexplained events that were caught on camera. And there's a lot of videos of this stuff. A lot of them are, as I said earlier, were documented, but a lot of them are not fake. And so that goes for most everything on the internet. There's a lot of stuff on the internet we just can't explain right now. There's a lot of videos that are uploaded that it's like, what the heck is that? It can't be it can't be proven yet.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a like hidden world that we don't really have a lot of awareness of. And yeah, it's interesting that um, this surveillance state has allowed us to discover a lot of these phenomena. It's like when I just stepped away there, you were talking about the cameras that people have on their dashes to record the things that they see when they're driving. And I know there was that big fireball in Russia, and that's basically how they were able to capture it, was on people's dash cameras. And um, you wonder how often these things have happened in the past, and people their only way to record it was by word of mouth, and then it turns into like a legend and like a myth, and people aren't really sure um, what to think about stories of these kind of natural phenomena. And but then when you get a camera there that actually captures footage of something unexplainable, um, there's proof, so it becomes totally different than in the past, this lore of like um, tales told face to face from person to person by word of mouth, to now where there's like documented evidence, where when someone can tell you a story like that, and when they show you a video, it makes it a lot more difficult to just dismiss it offhand. And I think that it helps bring about awareness for all the people on the planet to realize that as far advanced as all our technology and knowledge has come, there's still phenomena on the planet that people just don't understand. And when you see videos like this with, people just appearing out of what seems to be nowhere, and but yeah, it gets to be a little bit tricky because there's so at the same time as all this surveillance has gone on, there's been major advances made in special effects for film in general. And then with the computer revolution, like regular normal people that have no idea about filmmaking, but just have a camera and some kind of software program, are able to manipulate films and video the same way that a Hollywood studio almost could. And then that's where the big question of what's real and what's not real comes into play when you're dealing with YouTube videos, because the same way that a big Hollywood studio can use computer-generated graphics to create images that don't really exist, your average person can create a similar effect with some pretty simple and inexpensive software and technology that exists. So I think also for as far as media goes, our media and like news broadcasting and stuff, their ability to investigate the stories that are happening around the world becomes enhanced by all this surveillance, because a lot of times surveillance videos are released to the media, and it aids them in creating a clearer picture and illustrating a news story more effectively to people. So for me, I just see mostly benefits out of the surveillance state. I don't really see um, the negative aspects that I've heard some people talk about, like loss of privacy. It's like potentially the thought of these cameras being in your home without your knowledge, or like in a public restroom, which there's been stories of stuff like that happening. And the way the technology is going, where they can make these cameras like the size of a pinhead, where you virtually would not have any way of really knowing that you're being monitored if they didn't want you to know. It's very easy to hide a camera. I think we've all heard about like the nanny cams, where parents would hide a camera and a teddy bear to kind of spy on the babysitter uh, when they leave their children. Uh, so yeah, I don't know. There's just all kinds of, and then so the technology that we're aware of, like the nanny cam and like all these surveillance cameras, kind of begs the question of what kind of military surveillance equipment do our governments around the world have access to that we don't know about, and how good is it? Because they talk about how from like the satellites that are orbiting the Earth, how they can like literally zoom in and look in your window of your house from a satellite up in space. So basically, it almost is like it's a situation where, gee, you don't want to be in trouble with the law or the government, because they have so many tools at their fingertips to um, come and get you. And at this point, it's a kind of a good thing, because the people they're after are like, criminals and people who have committed crimes and stuff. But if you think about Nazi Germany, and if you imagine if they had access to this kind of surveillance, how much um, I just wonder how many more people they would have fed into those furnaces if they had had this. Because if you read like a story like Anne Frank or something, and the way they hid in the attic while so that they wouldn't have, so that their family wouldn't end up in the concentration camps, and they ended up there anyway. But how much sooner would have they been discovered if they had the kind of surveillance in Nazi Germany that we experience now, especially in North America? So as long as we have a free and democratic and open society like we do right now, the technology is a benefit. But um, if at any time for any reason, or in any place where you're living under a government that's a dictatorship, I could see how this surveillance could be very nefarious, and it would really make it easy for a despot to like wipe out all of the dissenters very quickly. Just being able to locate people so much more fast, and being able to monitor anybody that you want at will from anywhere in the world. It's kind of scary when you think of the potential in a society that's different from the one we live in North America. I don't know if you have any thoughts about that, but I think maybe that's where the naysayers about the technology, where the fear comes in, where people are like, we're losing privacy because of this surveillance. Maybe that's where the fear and the, like, to me, what seems like irrationality. But maybe there is a point that they have in regards to that.
I don't know. Kind of a tough call. I think, um, yeah, it's the whole privacy issue is to me and is a tough call because they are doing so much good things with surveillance cameras that I really don't think that it's a problem. You know, I can't see it as being a real problem when it comes to um, discovering things. Like just if it's a good thing or if a bad thing or if it's something private, you know, I guess what has to happen is if something private is caught on videotape, it's got to be treated that way, you know, as something was recorded by a security camera, but it's a private issue. I think that's a special case and it has to be handled that way. The things,
Yeah, that I don't know if that would happen in this society because you look at people that have had like all the I guess it hasn't really happened in a while, but there was for a while there was all this like sex tape scandal where those were privately made videos. It wasn't a surveillance deal. It was private people making private videos that somehow got leaked. So to think
right,
that a security camera would catch somebody doing something unsavory and that would be kept hush hush and held private, I kind of doubt it. Not in this world, especially if it's like a high profile person and there's money to be made because there's like TMZ, I'm sure they pay oodles and oodles of cash to people that get videos on their iPhone of celebrities doing whatever so that they can post it on or put it on their television show. I'm sure they paid big dollars for those videos. So if you were a lowly security guard earning like a mediocre income and you came across security tape of some starlet getting into some kind of trouble, are you going to I think the average person is going to take that footage and not keep it private. I don't know. Maybe not the average person, but there are some people out there that would try to benefit financially from something like that. And but at the same time, it's kind of we all realize and should understand that if you're in a public place, even if it's not under surveillance, everybody around you has a smartphone with a camera in their pocket. And if you're doing something ridiculous and stupid in public, somebody is going to pull out a camera and capture that. Or you may be under surveillance and the whole thing is going to be captured. And so I think um, that a potential benefit of all of the surveillance is that people maybe will behave better because they realize that someone somewhere is watching or that what they're doing could be seen all around the globe in a matter of minutes just from someone capturing it with their phone and sharing it on a social media site or something like that. So maybe the surveillance state promotes some better behavior amongst human beings because they don't want to, well, basically get caught. I think most people, when they do something that's considered wrong or they break some kind of law, they know that it's wrong. They know they should be doing it, and they don't want to get caught doing it. They don't want to have to deal with the consequences of their actions necessarily. And so just the knowledge that anything that you're doing may be caught on camera, it can be enough to deter, I think is enough to deter a lot of people from maybe acting hastily, which they might if they thought no one was going to see or they'd never get caught kind of thing. So I see that as another benefit.
oh yeah, the possibility of being caught doing a crime on security camera, just because you don't know where they are, probably deters a lot of people from committing crimes. So yeah, and again, it's an invasion of privacy, but at the same time, it's protecting people's stuff. You know, if I'm I don't I'm not gonna go either way on that issue. But what I was thinking more along the lines of was how how the security cameras pick up things that are unexplained. That these are cameras that are constantly running all the time. They're in one location, and all they do is record that location nonstop. It's not like pulling out your iPhone and videotaping something. These things are places like they have them in cities to monitor traffic and stuff. And that's where a lot of these really strange occurrences have taken place, is one of these traffic cameras will record something unexplained. And it really happened because it was seen by anybody who was monitoring that camera at that particular time. And it can capture a whole bunch of different stuff, like this whole thing with the security cameras in during 9/11 in 2001, when there was speculation and controversy as to what destroyed the section of the Pentagon. Some people said there was a video camera that recorded it as being a cruise missile, not even a plane. And so that in itself, there was so many security cameras, like we're talking about the Pentagon, and so there's got to be tons, loads of security cameras all over that place, and not one really had a clear view, or I think they were all confiscated. I don't think any of those security cameras were allowed to be viewed. But something in the path of whatever flew into the Pentagon was probably recorded by some sort of security camera. And so it's a matter of who's controlling those security cameras, right? Who's controlling the information that those cameras record. So the camera companies that probably, I don't know if they rent them or they sell them. I think you can buy security cameras for your home. But the big stuff that are for buildings and whatnot for security companies are probably owned by the security company, so they can control whatever the content the security camera actually records.
Well, from what I understand, as far as at the Pentagon on 9/11, the one video that they did release, which shows something hitting the Pentagon, it came, I believe, from a security camera from the gas station across the street, which doesn't make any sense to me at all because the Pentagon is like the most secure building in all of North America. There should be cameras in every stretch of hallway, every wall, every entrance, every exit you would think would be under surveillance, and they only came up with this one video from, I believe, a gas station security camera. So, yeah, definitely, there is something to be said for potentially there may be surveillance videos out there that have been confiscated that we'll never get to see. Because, like, pretty much if you're, you know, a business owner or a homeowner and government agents show up and they want your surveillance video, pretty much I think you're over a barrel and you have to give it to them. They'll get warrants and secure it in some way if you don't just willingly give it to them. So yeah, definitely there's something to be said for the government's ability to be able to manipulate like the facts around events by being able to access this security footage. Because I guarantee you that even though if you look at this recent mass shooting, they're calling it the worst mass shooting in American history. But if you look at American history and what happened with the Native Americans, they massacred way, 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 way more of the First Nations people hundreds of years ago than what happened in Orlando. However, for something that they're calling the biggest mass shooting event in history, which it's not, but they're calling it that, it's pretty amazing to me that there's no security footage of what went on down there. There's nobody that was inside of the building that has a picture on their cell phone or a video on their cell phone. And so to me, um, I believe that there's a good chance that um, elements within the government, I believe the FBI was involved in securing the shooter or whatever went down there. But it to me that just rings that there's a good chance that while this incident was going on, they somehow blacked out cell service in the area and either confiscated phones or removed any pictures or videos that people had captured. I think that that stuff was put on lockdown by whatever government agency was investigating it, and so they're not talking about that or saying anything about doing that. But it seems to me that something like that must have happened, because if you've got over 100 people that have been shot in a nightclub, that's got to have more than 100 people in it, right? And every single one of those people probably has a smartphone with a camera in their pocket. Maybe not everyone, but a majority of them. And nobody took any pictures or posted any videos about that. I'm sure that they did. However, they may have somehow been able to scramble the singles. I've heard of people having their phones hacked and like all the files being deleted off their phones and stuff like that. Um, and some of them, like, not even in suspicious ways or anything. It's just like, oh, weird. They can't pinpoint any reason why that would happen, and maybe it's just a error or mistake. But in some cases, it seems like people were specifically targeted to have information that was contained on their phone that maybe was damaging to a high-profile person or an element in the government or a corporation or something like that, and having that removed. So if they have that kind of capability, then potentially all of this surveillance footage may not reveal that much, because it seems like the fact of the matter is that there's something that the media doesn't want you to see or know about, they're going to prevent it from being viewed somehow.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Okay.
When you think about it, security cameras are probably often monitored by the media because where did it all start coming from? You know, I think the people with the first cameras were from the media. So
Which doesn't make any sense, because all those people in that club had cameras.
yeah,
And so I don't know. I talked to somebody that said, probably that the footage will be released. They're keeping it, they've locked it down, and they're keeping it all hush hush while they do their investigation, right? So they don't want, and that's typical. Well, I understand that it's typical of an investigation where they want to withhold the surveillance footage because it has clues that potentially, only the perpetrator of the crime would know. And so in order to determine guilt or innocence, then they want to have these facts that the public doesn't know about and that's kept secret, so that, if they find somebody that is aware of these facts, then they know they're in on it, or it proves their guilt to an extent. But with this particular incident, that doesn't really make any sense, because the perpetrator of the crime, the supposed lone gunman, was killed on the scene. So there's there's no need to manipulate the facts or hide them or anything or conceal them, because far as I know, there's not going to be any kind of trial or any, sentence handed down to the criminal, because he's dead, right? So I don't know. That's there's a lot to think about in this topic, though, because it's not just the surveillance from up above that, okay, this corporation is protecting its property with surveillance camera, or this city is protecting its people with a surveillance camera on the street. There's actual self surveillance. Like we're all surveilling each other. Like you see um, some crazy thing on the side of the road, you stop and you take a picture, you make a video of it, and everybody's doing it to each other. So it's like um, the surveillance is just, it's just constant, non-ending. Like what you're saying, it's 24/7. Well, there's cameras in place that are showing that one spot 24/7, but then there's also all of these people that are mobile that all have cameras, and we're all like doing surveillance on each other. Really, when you think about it, it's kind of crazy, and it's really is it's like there's nowhere to run, nowhere to hide from it. You know, there's places in the wilderness that don't have cell phone signals where you can't make a call, but you can still pull out your camera and take a picture in that wilderness where, you know, you're never going to be able to send a text from, but you could still make videos and pictures. So basically, like, become a huge part of our culture and our life all around the globe. It's just part of humanity. It's just a given that anywhere you go, there's a good chance that you're going to get caught on camera somewhere, whether it's walking under a telephone pole that has a camera, whether it's walking down the corridor of a hospital, there's cameras, and whether it's just, you know, standing on your front step outside your house and somebody drives by and they've got a camera. So we're all constantly under surveillance, and so definitely the technology within these hidden cameras, surveillance cameras, and within our cell phones, in our computers, has totally changed um, just the culture that we live in. Um, there's, it used to be such a passive culture of watching, where you would, you know, you would watch the news and you would watch the, and now there's this capability for each and every one of us as citizens to participate. Like we can make news. If we're on the scene and something's going on, we can pull out our phone and document that, and potentially that video that you make could end up on the 6 o'clock news very easily. And so it's just really phenomenal and interesting. I don't think that there's ever been this ability for people to be watching each other at all times and like documenting and recording like everything that we're doing all the time. It's there's never been anything like that in history. It's like um, everyone has like this license to be a paparazzi now. There's it's just it's really different. I've seen how it used to be and how it is now, and it's really different. So I can't even imagine if there's any of our viewers out there that are like in their golden years that are looking like I was around before there was cameras, and imagine the change that they've experienced. So it will continue to change, I'm sure.
Yeah, I agree. It'll get probably get more and more stuff recorded, and people will still be scratching their heads as to what is really going on when you see people disappearing off of a surveillance camera in a flash, a blinding flash of light. What is it? You know, see that one a lot on YouTube.
Yeah, and there's all kinds of theories. Some people think they're demons from another dimension. Some people think they're ghosts of people that have passed away. Some people think they're potentially alien creatures or something like that that have different forms and function than humans. And yeah, nobody really knows. So it should be fascinating for anyone out there to look into what, like, I think that that could be a reality show all its own. If you were to go and mine all of these um, phenomena that have been captured on security cameras, you could start like a new modern day unsolved mysteries, where you say, look at what this, look at all these weird surveillance videos, what's going on here, and have a big round table of people talking about you know, what their theory is, what they think it could be, or what. I don't think these things are a threat to us, so it's not a big concern for me, whatever it is, but it's definitely fascinating to realize that um, even as far as our technological society has come, there's still things that go on in this world that people cannot explain or understand. I think that's awesome. So that just means that there's more ability for all of us to continue learning and growing, and that's what life's all about, is just learning and growing. So, do you have any final comments on surveillance in general, Larry?
No,
We're
I think
coming up.
we pretty much covered it all the possibilities.
Yeah, and I don't know. One thing that I'll tell you about that I discovered that I really, really want to take on the farm is it's the quadcopter with the camera, and you can program it to just follow you. So I could go out to the barn and I could turn on this little quadcopter thing, and it has a camera, and it could follow me while I work with horses, and that would be so cool because I tell you, it can be very challenging at times to make a video while holding a camera in your hand with horses all around because they're super big and and you know, potentially I could get hurt doing that sometimes because when you're dealing with a big animal that has free will like that, there's always the potential for injury, especially if you're not giving 100% of your attention to the animal that you're dealing with. So one of those kind of cameras I'd love to have. I'd love to surveillance myself with one of those. It'd be a lot of fun. Um, but yeah, we're coming up to the top of the hour. So before we sign out here, just want to let you guys know about the Empower Hour. We'll be starting in a couple of minutes here. And the Empower Hour is a weekly call. There's also a website you can listen. And what it is it's every week there's a different internet entrepreneur that comes on and shares their story and their results as part of being internet entrepreneurs. And so if internet marketing is a totally disruptive technology, and basically what is another shift that is happening with disruptive technology is that many people are changing their buying patterns from brick and mortar businesses to click and order. So instead of, you know, going down to Walmart or Best Buy, you can actually go to walmart.com or bestbuy.com, and you can make a purchase of the same items that you'd find on the store shelves, but they'd be delivered right to your home. And so whenever a purchase is made on the internet, someone somewhere out there, a person who is identified as an internet marketer, probably earns a commission. So basically, a small percentage of the purchase price is paid out to the person that led a consumer on the internet to a site to make that purchase. So basically, the Empower Hour is just all about inspiring people and explaining how you can become one of these internet marketers and start earning commissions from the comfort of your home or wherever you are with a laptop and an internet connection. You can sell virtually any type of product out there and be able to earn a commission on it. But there's some tricks of the trade and some skills that you'll have to acquire along the way. And the Empower Network is all about helping people to gain those skills. So if you're on our free energy page watching the Hangout, click the button below the Hangout and listen to the Empower Network with us. It's starting right now. So I'll sign off. Before I go, I want everybody out there to know that I'm a firm believer that in this life, absolutely anybody can be, do, and have anything they want, or we can have everything we want. And I choose everything, and I hope you will too, because you can. So click the link below and listen to the Empower Hour and help find out how. Have an amazing evening, and if I don't see you in the future, I'll see you out in the pasture in the morning. Bye, Larry. Thanks, everybody. See ya.